Hello everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Mobile Home Coach. Today I'm going to be talking to you about leaking faucet stems and seats and what to look for and how to replace them. And today we'll be looking at a couple of popular brands in the mobile home field is Phoenix, and another brand is called Empire. I don't have the package for this one, but we'll go over the differences between both of those and how to check for broken parts in there and how to replace and fix all the components in there. Okay, so for starters, what I want to do is just kind of introduce you to what these components are. This is what they call a faucet stem, and this is a faucet, it's upside down. This is a faucet seat. And what happens inside your faucet, your handle goes attached to this little spiny part here, and when you twist this back and forth, it moves this plunger in and out. And what happens inside your faucet is on the smooth side of this marries right up against there, and when you open it, it pulls this away and allows the water to pass through, and as you close the knob, it pushes up against it and shuts the water off. So typically what you see on a faucet of this type is this is a rubber seal that's right here, and these are replaceable. They're very inexpensive, and you can find them just about any hardware store everywhere, Home Depot, Lowe's, True Value, or if you can find them online at a mobile home parts store. So what happens is these seats, over time, they get, from being pressurized up against the seat so many times over the years, they get kind of embossed in there, and then they start getting cut, and then they eventually just get a little tear in them or a little gouge, and then they'll start leaking. So that's a pretty easy fix. You just take off that center screw, and that little washer just pops off of there, and you just pop the new one back on. Another thing that happens over time, especially if you have hard water, is this seat will tend to develop little chips or little cracks on there. And that, no matter how hard, even if you take this out and change it and you have a good washer, the minute you push up against this and twist, and if this has a little chip in it, it's going to keep cutting that washer. And you might find that, you just replaced the washers recently, and then the faucet starts dripping again, and it won't shut off. And that's because this washer keeps getting compromised, and it could be due to a bad seat. Again, this will get chipped and broken up in here, and that'll cause the faucet to not shut off all the way and drip, 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 drip. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this Empire faucet and show you where the seat and the stem is. And for starters, either brand, they're both the same, pretty similar process. You've got a little plastic cap on here. You can just get your fingernail and just pop it off of there. And then inside there, I don't know if you can make it out, there's a Phillips screw usually. Sometimes it might be a flathead. And all you have to do is get your Phillips screwdriver and take the screw off and just loosen it, and it'll fall out of there just like that. And then the faucet handle will come off. And speaking of faucet handles, most of the Phoenix and the Empire brands will interchange. They've got the splines. They both have the same spline count, so you can usually get either one to work. It might depend, there might be variations on tub faucets, I think, but most of them will interchange. So this is a Phoenix brand. I'm sorry, Empire brand. And then this is where the stem is, and this one just so happens to be a plastic stem. This is an all plastic faucet. So you can also change stems out of plastic faucets. They don't have to be specifically the brass ones like this. So they do make replacement parts for the plastic ones. However, depending on your access to get to the faucet, on plastic units, it's almost cheaper just to replace the whole faucet than it is to try to rebuild it. They're just plastic parts, and usually these all plastic faucets are fairly inexpensive compared to their metallic counterparts. So again, you can do this if it's difficult to change out, especially tub faucets. You've got to get behind the wall to remove the faucet. So sometimes it's worth taking the stem off and replacing it, and or the seat. So anyway, this is the plastic stem that came out of here. You just get the wrench and unscrew it counterclockwise, and it'll come right out. And then inside in that hole, I don't know if you can make it out, and this one doesn't actually have a replaceable stem, but it's the same concept. And what you do is you get an Allen wrench, and you're going to have to play with your Allen wrench kit, see what size it is. They could vary a little bit, but you just stick the Allen wrench in the hole and just twist that out of there. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So this would be where the stem is screwed up inside there, and you can't quite make it out, but it's in there. And you would just push your Allen wrench all the way up in there and then just twist it out just like that. And then this whole cartridge will come out of there. Okay, so if you do have a type of faucet that does have a stem and it's metallic, you'll take it out and you can examine again, like I mentioned, not the threaded side, but the opposite side, the smooth side, and look for any imperfections in there. If there's any, even if there's a slight chip, even if it's a hairline crack, that's going to cause your water to keep dripping, no matter how hard you try to turn that knob off, and it'll just continue to drip, and it just kind of drive you crazy, right? So if it is bad, you want to go ahead and just order these and replace them. And on Phoenix stems are pretty easy to identify. There's usually a small embossed number on here, and usually if they're older, they're a little bit hard to identify, and you might need a magnifying glass. I don't know if you can make that one out. You can see some numbers imprinted on there. So usually you can try to find the proper seat or stem that you need by looking at these embossed numbers and see what you can find. They are different. Not every faucet's the same. They're proprietary in that, you know, Empire has their own design, Phoenix has their own design. There's a few others out there in the market from specifically to mobile homes, and then you got all the site-built brands, right? So you'll go to a big box store like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, and you'll be looking at the faucet repair parts aisle, and you'll see 100 different variations of these and these. So you want to make sure that you get the right one. And again, there's usually numbers embossed in the seat itself. Again, if it's old and it's corroded, you might have to clean it up a little bit. Be careful not to scratch it with anything abrasive, because you will take off the writing that's on there. And by the way, in regards to these seats, they come in various lengths. So some are like your lavatory faucets, your sink faucets. They'll be kind of short. They'll be kind of stubby, about that long. This one happens to come out of a tub, and this is one of the longer ones. The kitchen faucets are about in between. Maybe they might be 3/4 of an inch tall. So that's important. You got to make sure and get the right length. So it's always a good idea to, if you can't find the numbers, to take your old parts with you to the store so you could try to get them matched up exact. Okay, so for the faucet seats, I have a Phoenix one. They do a better job out of all the others of making it easier to identify their parts versus like the Empire. The Empire doesn't really have their numbers embossed in the side, so you almost are forced to just have to take this piece with you to a hardware store to see if you can find a match, or if you can identify it by a really good picture and or description on a website if you're looking like on Amazon or a mobile home parts supply store. So the Empires are quite a bit different than the Phoenix. You can kind of tell they look a little bit smaller in diameter on the shoulder up here than a Phoenix. But again, there are variations of this if it's a tub, a lavatory, or a kitchen faucet. So there are variations in there. But I was going to point out on the Phoenix brand, this one's a Phoenix, and on this shoulder right here on the rim, you're going to see some distinct writing on there. And on there is where they will have the part number for this particular seat that you have. But one thing that they also do to make it extra confusing is they also emboss the word Phoenix and Ohio and their zip code of where the manufacturing plant is. I don't know why they do that. I mean, it's fine if they would have Phoenix on there so you could identify that it's a Phoenix faucet, but to put the zip code in Ohio on there, it's kind of odd. But they do put the number on there, and Phoenix does also a good job on their packaging. This particular one is a 9-43-5-0, and you will find those numbers embossed in the shoulder right here. So again, Phoenix is probably the most dominant player in the mobile home manufactured home market for faucets, but Empire's not that far behind. So again, it's a little tricky trying to find what you need, but on Phoenix, they do put their part numbers on the stem as well as the seat, and they'll do the same thing. You might see something about Ohio and the zip code on there, so just look for the part numbers and then try to match those up with what you need. Just one more tip I want to point out, again, trying to identify a faucet. There's no real like markings anywhere on it. Sometimes across the back side of here you will see a branding. As a matter of fact, on this tub faucet, across the top you'll see where it says Empire right there. So sometimes you'll find an embossed marking on the casing, on the chrome part. And this particular one is a Phoenix bathroom sink faucet. And on here, in the little plastic caps, they actually have their brand that says Phoenix right there. But there is no other marking anywhere on the faucet on this particular model, so you can identify it. So again, it's very hard to figure out what you have. Sometimes it's easier just to go to the store, unless again you can go to a website and identify the specific picture that looks exactly like what you have. I do also want to mention that with Phoenix, I think they do have a subsidiary, or there is an aftermarket brand called Streamway, and I believe they have some interchangeable parts. Empire might also have some interchangeable components too, but I can't recall right now. But as long as you can identify the faucet that you have and the stem, you'll be in good shape. Another thing that you could do is also count the thread count on here. I've heard that's doable on that, but again, they're so fine thread, it's hard to rely on that alone and make sure you got the right parts, the right part you need. So one last thing I want to talk to you about in regards to faucet leaks. So we talked about the drip, drip, drip out of the faucet, and again, that applies to a tub or a kitchen or a lavatory sink. If you keep twisting on the knobs and the water just continues to drip, if it's a slow drip, a slow annoying drip, or even a really bad drip, it's going to be where the seat hits the stem, and that's where you'll need to correct that problem. Either replace this ring, this gasket right here, or the stem, or both. Now, if you got water dripping from behind the handle right here, and it's not dripping out of the spout, if it's right back here, just wanted to point out that there is a washer that comes with these faucets. And that little washer, if you lose it, if you buy a new one and it just falls off and you forget to put it in, you're definitely going to get a leak out of right up at the top where the faucet handle meets the body of the faucet. So make sure that little O-ring is in there. And on the Phoenix one, this is the Empire. The Phoenix has like more of an O-ring that you can definitely see. The Empire has a real small gray gasket. So again, if your faucet is leaking on top of the body, it's probably just as simple as this little gasket right here. But if you got a drip coming through the spout or the neck, then that's when you want to go start looking at your stems and your seats. So I hope you enjoyed our session on faucets and how to repair leaks and drips. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And if you could, like and subscribe to the channel, that'll help keep this going. And I'll be coming with some more videos soon. Thank you for watching.